Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Amar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Josh Taylor, founder and CEO of Product Evo, a pioneering product development and sourcing agency headquartered in Utah. With nearly 2 decades of expertise, Josh and his team at Product Evo specialize in helping founders and high growth companies transform bold ideas into successful market ready products. Through a comprehensive, data driven approach to product strategy, design, engineering, and international manufacturing, Josh has guided hundreds of products from concept to launch, delivering impactful results for brands across numerous industries. Josh, welcome to Founders Future.
Mar, thanks for having me, man. Stoked to be here.
Anytime, man. I'm excited to dive in. I always like to start from the beginning. So take me back to before you started Product Evo. What were you doing at the time? And then what was really the motivation behind starting the company?
Yeah, good question. So I've got a funny background when you look at what I do today versus what I studied in college and kind of my background. And I think it works really well. So at the time I started Product Evo, the thing I was doing just before that is I was head of marketing for an outdoor brand. Weird because I went to school for finance and econ. So I'm a numbers guy and I
Yeah.
grew up as an artist. And I wanted to be like a concept artist for Star Wars films and stuff. What's really unique about me is like you've got like strong math, strong artistic schools, so highly analytical and pretty creative. And wasn't quite sure what to do with that. So I just meandered through different careers. Turned out I was pretty good at sales, and that ultimately led me to climb the sales ladder and end up head of marketing for a company. But the catalyst for starting Product Evo was I saw some gaps in the products we were offering and trying to sell to our customers at
Right.
that company. So I went to the founder of the company. I was like, hey, I think if we build these two products, I think it'll fill in some gaps for our sales and just give us better lasting power. He didn't want to do them. So I made an internal push to get it done. And he finally said, look, if you want them, you do it. And that was my first opportunity to jump into product development. I found it was just like this perfect mix, like the Venn diagram crossed over perfectly between like my analytical side, my sales side, and my
Mm.
artistic side. And I just found my passion for doing it then.
I love that. And then did you immediately start your company shortly after that? What was the timeline like there?
Yeah, so like most good entrepreneurial journeys, it wasn't just this clean cut decision to start a new company.
Yep.
Sometimes, if you look at story brands, sometimes you got to get kicked onto the path. And I definitely got kicked onto the path. The founder of that company was a little shady in some agreements he'd made with me and another one of my co-founders.
Mm.
And at some point, we're just like, we're not going to tolerate this. And we quit. And then that's when I looked at some of my favorite things that I've done, and product development was one of them.
Mm.
And that was like the kick I needed to start this company.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Walk me through today what Product Evo looks like. That way we can give the listeners a little bit more context. Well, who would you say is your ideal customer? Let's start there and then we can dive deeper.
Yeah, our ideal customer is a founder who's already successfully brought a couple products to market.
Okay.
A lot of times they do that because they're just passionate about whatever industry they're starting a product in. We do a lot of it in sports and outdoors and housewares, and a lot of times you got chefs that are passionate about the cookware they want to bring to market, or a fisherman or a hunter that's just so stoked on the outdoors that they just see this nuance and some gear they can create. And because of how close they are to the market and their passion for it, a lot of times they're able to get a good product off the ground. And before they know it, they're like, holy crap, I've got a successful company. The challenge is in repeating that success, especially while as a company grows, now all of a sudden they're not playing their sport or cooking as much.
Mhm.
They're not quite as close to it. They've got sometimes a customer service team that's interacting directly with the customers and better understand the products and challenges they're having. And so everything they're getting is now second. person information. They're spread between growth and sales and marketing and HR and wearing all these hats. But they know to continue to hit their goals, they need to bring more products to market. And
Yeah.
so that is our sweet spot, ideal customer, somebody that kind of knows what they're doing, doesn't have a really clear-cut system for repeating success,
Mm,
and is usually the operational bottleneck to getting stuff done and moving as fast as they want.
okay, powerful. Now, are there specific types of products that you focus on, or is it just any physical product?
It's any physical product that's not apparel. So
Okay,
if
got
it's
it.
hard, if you can knock on it, it's typically something we can do. So almost anything made out of plastic, metal, glass, wood, and some basic consumer electronics that usually get put in some kind of plastic housing. That's our expertise.
Got it. Powerful. So then what does a typical client engagement look like? Let's say I'm one of these founders. I know what I'm doing. I'm the operational bottleneck. Everything that I'm getting is what's the word? A couple of people removed from the actual situation of what's going on. So walk me through, what does a typical client engagement look like? How are we actually working together?
Yeah, good. So I'll position it against like our what most of our industry does. Most of our industry, people think of as either sourcing agents or supply chain managers or brokers. And so it's really transactional. I need to find a factory. I show up with a Rolodex. Our competitors show up with a Rolodex factories. They're like, there's your factory. And they just facilitate communication. But a lot of the strategic thinking, a lot of the heavier thinking and planning and project management is still left on the founder's shoulders. Where we're really positioned differently is, yeah, we can find factories and we can manage all that just like everybody else, but we want to go to the core. We want to go to where the biggest leverage is. And where we've seen the biggest leverage is, are we even building the right product?
Mm,
Yeah, you've got an idea for what the second or third product is, but really, how big is the market for that? Is it just a few noisy customers that are making you think the market's big? Or is your next product going to serve the majority of your current customers and then expand beyond that current customer base so you can actually reach those levels of growth you're after? And then
yeah.
how do we execute on that idea? What are the features that we should have, but more importantly, what very few people think about, what are the features we shouldn't have? What can we take away to keep the product more focused, more affordable, bring the margins the founder needs so you're not wasting money on developing features that people actually don't care as much about? And then, of course, we go in and do the project management through the engineering phase, the sourcing and development, and everything else. That's I think how we engage typically with founders, and we bring our systems.
Yeah.
So the goal is when you work with us, we want you to get a sense of what it feels like to be systematic about bringing products to market, so that in the future, whether you work with us or not, it's not as much of a crapshoot of whether you're going to be successful or not. You've got a repeatable process you can implement.
I love that. So, in comparison to the rest of the market, you are much more of a strategic partner
Yep.
as opposed to a transactional engagement. Is there a typical time frame for how long these engagements last, or not really?
Yeah, so very broad brushstrokes. What we tell clients is if you have a very simple part, which we define as like literally like a single 1 to 2 components going into a product, we can do it as fast as 6 months from start to finish. Like you give us the idea, you have product shipped in under 6 months. For a standard product, meaning there's maybe 3 to 10 different components being assembled together, maybe nicer packaging, some mechanisms that need to work together, simple things like gears or switches, things like that. There's a little bit more testing, refinement, a little bit more complexity, plan on about 12 months. And then for complex systems, it can be anywhere from 18 months to 3 years. So on the most complex side, we've worked on an at-home CNC machine. For makers, it had over 6,000 different components in the bill of materials. Super complex. That's more on the 2 to 3 year range. We've done other projects where we're working with circuit boards, certifications, mechanisms that have to work on the circuit boards. Maybe there's 50 to 100 parts. That's closer to the 18-month range.
Wow.
Yeah.
It still doesn't sound like that long to me on the long end, to be honest. It doesn't sound that ridiculous. And that's from idea to product shipment.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Six
we're proud of it.
6,000 parts. That's pretty wild.
It was crazy. That thing was and not just 6,000 parts, but a lot of them because it's a CNC machine that had to work perfectly. The tolerances for perfection were just so
Yeah,
razor thin.
wild. Let's shift a little bit to the back end of the business. When it comes to client and customer acquisition, when you're looking to bring on more clients to Product Evo, what does that process currently look like?
You mean like how do we get interest? How do we find people that want
Yeah,
to do
like
business with us?
how do you generate leads exactly?
Nah, perfect. So we've got three key components of how we find customers. The first and our longest lasting is referrals. So
Yep.
most of our referrals come from design and engineering firms that have completed the CAD design of a product, and that's where their expertise ends. Now they need somebody's help to get them through the prototyping, development, tooling, and production side. So a lot of our business still comes through referrals. And we're really proud to work with some of the top industrial design and engineering firms in the country that have brought really famous products to market. The second way is we do cold outreach. So since we have a very clearly defined ideal customer profile, we're
Yeah.
able to target them really well, both finding their information and then through the types of messaging we reach out to them with, we're able to speak very specifically to pain points. We do pretty good with cold outreach. And then the third, we just put ourselves out there like on Facebook, like a lot of people do, and we've got a pretty good lead gen funnel coming from Facebook.
Yeah. Do you know what your total addressable market is?
Yeah, it's not huge. It's around, oof, I just looked at it the other day. I want to say it's around 600,000 businesses in the US fit that sweet spot because
Oh, that's
there's a
humongous.
ton, there's a ton of businesses that are below like 3 million a year in annual revenue.
Yeah.
And just a few that are between that 3 and 30 million in revenue that we typically serve.
Okay. Okay. So you said 600,000 fit that sweet spot.
Yep.
Okay, very cool. Because the reason that I ask is because our rule of thumb when it comes to running paid ads, for example, is if it's 15,000 or less, don't run paid ads.
Yeah.
So 600,000. Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
On paid ads, like
Yeah.
Google ads or Facebook ads.
Meta mainly.
Yeah, no, we run ads on Meta already.
Okay,
Yeah,
what
that
is
was
that?
that third pillar.
Okay, got it, got it. I thought you said just like putting yourself out there, like making posts.
Oh,
But
no, yeah, we actually do paid ads for sure.
what does that funnel look like? What are you trying to get them to do?
We've got one that's just been a workhorse for us. A lot of people for the last couple of years have been manufacturing in China. That's been going on for a long time. But in the last couple of years, there's been more of a desire to move manufacturing out of China for fear of what's going on right now. Honestly, a lot of people saw that coming and wanted to get ahead of the curve. And so our call to action, we developed a pros and cons of manufacturing outside of China guide that really breaks down about 12 key markets for contract manufacturing, including the US, Mexico, Europe. And we look at a lot of different factors, cost of manufacturing, how well the factories in those regions typically cooperate and collaborate during the development process, IP protection, cultural, speed of development, things like that. And we go into a lot of detail in that guide. So that's the first step is people are looking to see where else they can manufacture. They get interested in that guide and they download that guide. And then they go to a book a call page where our core offer on that book a call page is it's a strategy call. So if you don't
Yeah,
want to read this big fat guide yourself, we're pretty good at knowing where you should manufacture. So let's jump on a call, ask you a few questions, and we can point out at least a short list of 2 to 3 countries that fit your profile, what you're trying to accomplish. And then it's a soft call to action from there. If you want our help doing that, we can talk more about that. And if not, like, great, take the information, run. We just want to be like value led the whole way and give people a lot of
yeah,
benefit in talking to
I like
us.
that. So you've got one that's essentially a lead magnet. They opt in to the lead magnet, then you get their email, then you get their phone number, their information.
Yep.
Then they can book a call as well from there.
Yep.
Do the
That's it.
people that don't book a call, do they get contacted by a setter or something like that?
Yes, ish. We've got some marketing automations for the people that don't book a call. For a little while, I had an AE in his spare time going back because we tend to run pretty busy just with the scheduled calls. So if we do
Yeah.
have a gaping hole in our pipeline, it's that. Currently working to build an AI BDR agent to contact all those leads a little bit more proactively. Probably not as good as a human, but better than not touching them at all.
Better than nothing. Yeah, and we do have clients doing that. The thing is that I find that with where AI is right now, it works really well if it's a shorter call, a very
Yes,
quick qualification, super quick.
100%.
The longer it is, the it just decreases trust a little bit.
Yep.
So you and I think you mentioned two when you were talking about Facebook ads. So you had this one, the
Yep.
Select Magnet plus book a call. Is there another one as well?
So the new one is in development right now. We've
Okay.
got, because we build front to back on our funnels. So the front end of the funnel through the lead magnet, like the ads call to action lead magnet is like absolutely freaking crushing it right now.
Yeah.
We're on the book a call phase trying to get that figured out, but
Cool.
it's a little bit different. It speaks to the core of what we do. The workhorse, the one we just talked about, sourcing out of China, that really is commoditizing us as just a sourcing company. But it
Mm,
worked, and it was like it happened to be where we started, and it still produces good leads and clients. The new one is really speaked in how we're differentiated as a product development partner from concept all the way
yeah.
through, and focusing on the pain that a lot of founders feel of just being spread so thin in their
Yeah.
companies then and where they came up with the original product idea and they figured out the first one on their own. A lot of times they're passionate, and that's like the last thing they feel like they can give up because there's
Yeah.
not a lot of agencies out there like marketing agencies there's hundreds, thousands of them. There's not a lot of people doing what we do that can really co-collaborate with the founders and just execute their vision. So we're trying to speak to that. And on the front end, it's crushing, absolutely crushing. So we just got to get the back end figured out.
Powerful. Do you know what your ROAS is roughly with that ad?
With that ad, no, because we haven't finished the funnel, so there's no data.
Okay.
I,
Or do
I,
you
I
know?
know what our in rate. We got it as high as 80%, 80% opt-in rate. And then we
Wow.
went back and added a lot of friction to the funnel just
Nice.
to improve the quality of the
Nice.
lead. So on our sweet spot of friction, we're still 33% opt-in.
Nice. I guess the ROAS on your best ad, do you know what that is?
On the workhorse one, it could be better, and I'm sure we'll get to this later in the conversation, but I think we're at like 15% or 16% ROAS, something like that.
Okay.
Or not 16%, like
Yeah.
15x. Sorry, for every dollar we put in, we get 15 bucks back.
And you're saying that could be better?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I agree. I agree because I think like just adding the setter alone, that alone contacting all the leads and then the back end like you were talking about, wow, 15 to 16x. That's something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah, it's been a project to get it there, but
Yeah, yeah.
not quite on the back end where I want it to be yet.
Yeah.
On the front end, the marketing all the way through setting the lead, I think, or setting the call, I think we're good. Just want to do better.
What do you mean by the back end? Do you mean like the conversion
Like
of
this conversion, sales conversion. Yep.
okay. And are you the one taking that or is that an AE?
So that's the constraint of the growth of the business right now is the challenge of scaling. What I found, Amar, is like a lot of founders are in a similar position to me in terms of sales is
Mm,
I've spoken to so many where the founder drives the sales initially for the company, especially in B2B. And it's really hard to translate what a founder can bring to the table and just deep technical understanding, industry knowledge, and honestly, like commitment to and conviction in knowing we can get people
yes.
growth. And so I've hired three different AEs in the past,
Yeah.
and not a single one of them has been able to replicate my success in the role. I'm finding that's really common because the more founders I talk to figure out what their sales process is and like how they've solved it, the more I'm like, yeah, we haven't figured this out. I'm still stuck in sales. And so
They,
this time around, like I had an AE working for me up until March this
mhm.
year, and he just couldn't get it done. And so I stepped back in, hoping
Fair.
for the last time, where I'm really committed to building like a systematic sales process that can be repeatable, that doesn't rely on my technical expertise and conviction. So yeah, I haven't solved it yet. To
Yeah.
be totally honest, like I
Fair
haven't
enough.
found a way to get the closing rate where I need it to be when I'm using more of a repeated templated
Yeah.
sales process.
Are
So
you
that's what we're working on.
I like that. And I appreciate the honesty. It is a very common thing that we see. I'm curious, are you expecting them to close at the same level as you are? or do you just
No,
want them to be decent?
I want them to be decent. Yeah,
Okay,
so
fair.
like before I hire the next round, and this is another thing I've learned, I've only ever hired one AE at a time, thinking like I'm gonna hire this guy. Once his results get up, then I'll hire the next guy. And I think that's flawed thinking. The next time I go and we're shooting for October, November and I'm hiring a minimum of 3 people at once. All 3 of them, I want to be fully convinced can
Yeah,
succeed, and I really want them to succeed.
yeah,
But I'm not, it takes too much time and effort to onboard somebody, put all your eggs in that basket, find out their closing rate's not high enough, and then
yes,
start from scratch. And so, yeah, we're going all in this next round.
100%. And when you hire them at the same time, they compete with each other, and it's a
Yes.
good thing. Did
Yep.
do you how many calls do you give them before before you scrap it?
Historically, way too many.
Yeah, fair
Like
enough.
this,
Our rule
this,
of thumb is 10.
wow,
You get 10 calls.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take that to the
Yeah.
knowledge bank.
You have to close 2 out of 10. If you don't close 2 out of 10, then you're not on the team. Now, if there's like a DQ in there, like 10 qualified calls,
For sure.
sometimes people will hop on the calendar that shouldn't really be on there,
Yep.
but that's very rare now, especially when you implement application grading and all those things. But with that being said, first off, I appreciate your honesty, and it's exciting to see what you're doing right now. You've got the right moving pieces. What do you feel like is the vision? Like, what do you ultimately want to accomplish with this?
So with the company, our vision's always been around really helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses through product-led growth. Something a lot of them are passionate about, but it's the last I looked, I think it's around 8, 9 out of 10 new products fail. And those go all the way up to the biggest companies. You
Yeah.
got Google Glass, like the Amazon Fire Phone. Nobody's exempt from product failures at the biggest level, but entrepreneurs, especially in that kind of 2, 3 to $30 million range, cash is tight for them. They're
Mm,
usually like having to stretch their operational budget just to keep up with growth. Plus, you add inventory into that and everything else, and they're cash strapped businesses. They can't miss,
yeah.
and so many of them do. And so many of them, the biggest mistakes we see is maybe a little arrogance, maybe a little naivete because they just struck gold on the first one. And so they assume they've got what it takes and they try to do it again and usually fall on their face hard and they get more expensive because they have more resources they can throw at it. And so when
Mm,
those failures hurt, it really pushes businesses back years.
yeah.
So our goal is really to help founders execute at a higher level for predictable success on bringing like truly great products to market that help their customers.
I love that. Do you have any revenue targets for maybe 12 months from now? Is that something you're comfortable talking about or
I can talk in just in terms of like percentage growth.
cool?
Really, like in the next 12 months, I've been operating this company for 10 years and we've been through, different levels of scale. And if you've grown businesses, they rarely grow in straight lines. There's an S curve theory of growth. I found that to be more true than not, where you get traction and then you unlock a certain level and you just all of a sudden jump up and you think you're the shit. And
Yeah.
then like it levels off.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's going on? It's not scaling anymore. And then you really
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
crack the code on the next level of scale. We've been at that kind of like, we've gone through 3 or 4, and we're in a good spot, but we've been at that kind of like flat phase for a while where we've had to unlock a lot.
Mm,
And like with the sales conversions, really that's the last code for us to unlock. And I think when we do operationally, we are so dang strong. Like we execute at a really high level. Marketing, we can dial up leads on command. And so it's like once that's put together, I can see us really having another one of those big steep curves in growth. And so, yeah, like to grow 100%, that's conservative. Yeah, I'd say to grow 100% in the next 12 months once we unlock that is definitely in range, definitely in target.
100%, especially if you can just delegate it completely, start filling up calendars, and these guys are going to close 25% or more, then 15x. I'm like, yo, that's a sexy number.
Yeah.
And it can be better. It can be better. That's exciting, man. What is the best way for people to reach out to you to work with you?
The easiest way, just email me. I'll just share my email publicly. It's josh@productevo.io. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so they can always find me on LinkedIn as well. Just search my name, Josh Taylor, Product Evo. I should pop up there pretty quick.
Awesome. Any final words before we wrap up?
No, I think, yes, I guess. Let me answer that. Yes, there are final words. And that is growth can happen in a lot of different ways. It can be product led, marketing led, sales led. The trick for product companies really to grow is just understand the pain of your market and just stay true to solving that pain and not over solving it. Give people what they need, not too much. Keep the product simple. And with AI tools these days and the amount of data that's on the internet, if you don't just pause for a crazy, let's call it a crazy amount of time, a week. If you don't just pause for a week and do a little bit of validation as to whether your product can really solve those needs or not, and the size of the market, you're crazy. It's so easy these days. It's like a few
Mhm.
keystrokes in the AI tools. I see people miss that all the time. And so we can help you do it. Something we do all the time is guide you through our process, but also like it's not that complex. There's great tools out there. And just do that before you go and put a couple $100,000 into getting a new product to market.
Yes, yes, please do. Josh, thank you so much for your time. This
You
was
bet, man.
So
Nice chatting
that
with you.
wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to reach out to Josh at productevo.io. And if you're here, subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency, and you're really looking to scale your business, you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts and find the blueprint or discover the blueprint that took us from zero to $30 million in 26 months, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then,